10th, 2025 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. City Clerk, if you can please take the roll.
Sure. Nichols?
Here.
Larson?
Here.
Spanbauer?
Here.
Flom?
Here.
Bulow?
Here.
Stevenson?
Here.
Mughawar?
Here.
7 present.
Leading us in the invocation this evening, followed by the pledge, will be Councilmember Nichols.
We ask for guidance tonight as we begin this meeting. May all those who participate in our discussions and our decisions reflect the values that we cherish in this great city.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Nichols. We have 2 proclamations that we're issuing and actually giving out tonight, and then we have a presentation to follow before we get into our action items. First up, we have a proclamation for Scleroderma Awareness Month, June 2025, and Chrissy Catt is here to accept that this evening. Whereas addressing the complex health needs of people with scleroderma is important to the city of Oshkosh, and whereas according to the Scleroderma Foundation, approximately 300,000 individuals in the U.S. are living with scleroderma, a group of rare diseases that involves hardening and tightening of the skin and connective tissues. And whereas scleroderma may affect the skin, blood vessels, internal organs, and digestive tract, and the signs and symptoms vary for each type of scleroderma, making comprehensive and coordinated health services for people with scleroderma critically important to achieve positive patient outcomes. And whereas the Scleroderma Foundation and other organizational partners seek to raise awareness in our communities through support, education, and research towards finding a cure. Whereas all persons living with scleroderma in the city of Oshkosh, their family and friends, are encouraged to wear teal for the month of June to create awareness and to educate the medical community and public in support of scleroderma awareness and to participate in awareness-related events during the month of June. Now, therefore, I, Matt Mughawar, Mayor of the City of Oshkosh, do hereby designate June 2025 as Scleroderma Awareness Month in the City of Oshkosh. And again, we have Chrissy Catt here, if you'd come on up. Thank you for putting the request in there. You go. Thank you. And one more this evening. We have World Refugee Day in the city of Oshkosh. Whereas a refugee is forced to flee their homeland because of fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group or political opinion, and is unable or willing to avail themselves of the protection of that country and is unwilling to return to it. Whereas the World Relief Wisconsin Fox Valley and the city of Oshkosh recognize World Refugee Day, a global observance that honors all refugees and raises awareness of the strength and courage of them. Whereas World Refugee Day was first celebrated on June 20th, 2001, to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees. And whereas World Refugee Day serves as a time to acknowledge the hardships refugees have encountered, the new lives they have built, and the positive effect they have on our local communities. And whereas the city of Oshkosh values its strong collaborative relationship with World Relief Wisconsin Fox Valley, the organization that provides vital services to newly arrived refugees with access to basic necessities and begin them on their journey to belonging while helping those newcomers to become all they want to be through culturally relevant learning opportunities. Now, therefore, I, Matt Mughawar, Mayor of the City of Oshkosh, do hereby designate June 20th, 2025 as World Refugee Day in the City of Oshkosh, and encourage all residents to take pride in our longstanding role as a community that welcomes and supports refugees, and to join me in honoring refugees by recognizing the hardships that they have encountered, the new lives they have built, and the positive contributions that they make to our fair city. And we have New Hughes here with us this evening to accept. Sure. Okay. Thank you. Next up, we have a presentation. This is to recognize one of our fine city employees, Dan Brown, who happens to be the Senior Services Manager here at the Senior Center here in the city of Oshkosh. Give me just a moment to pull this up, but Dan and maybe even Ray, if you want to join him up there with, give him some emotional support by standing next to him maybe.
I'm used to that.
We're just taking a few moments tonight to recognize some exceptional service by one of our fantastic city employees. We don't do this enough, and when presented with the opportunity, felt this was a great one to try to honor. So, Dan Braun, who happens to be the Senior Services Manager for the Oshkosh Senior Center, was recently selected to be one of the top 5 of over 2,000 instructors for the Silver Sneakers Instructor of the Year 2025. This was a nationwide nomination effort. Silver Sneakers is a health and fitness program designed for adults that are 65 plus. That's included with many of the Medicare Advantage plans. The Oshkosh Senior Center happens to offer the Silver Sneakers program, with Dan instructing many of those programs. Participants from the programs that Dan's managed and led nominated him for this award, and here were some of the following statements that they used to nominate Dan. Dan keeps his classes engaged and safe while going above and beyond with a sense of humor to bring joy to each participant and workout. Dan is best known for his dad jokes, and his class participants agree that it's impossible not to have fun and to leave without a smile. Dan has a remarkable ability to connect with seniors and understand their unique needs and challenges, and he creates a welcoming and supportive environment that empowers participants to step outside their comfort zone and explore new physical movements. So want to take a moment tonight to congratulate Dan on being a finalist for the 2025 Silver Sneakers Award. I don't get to give you an award, you already got that. But just thank you for your efforts, thank you for your service to this community and to our senior community specifically, and a job very well done.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It was truly humbling to receive that nomination to begin with, because it's participant based. So for the folks that I'm doing to realize that that's what I was helping them do, it's really about them, was pretty special. I guess I just look at that as that's just the way I like to do things. I like to try to meet people where they're at. And the whole team at the Senior Center really does that with everything that we do, all of our programs, the fitness, the education, the nutrition, the very special partnership we have with the city, and the relationship we have and the support we get from city and council. It's truly hand in hand, and we just always want to do the best we can for everybody that comes in the door, and this was just a little extra icing on that cake for us. So I was very humbled to represent the city, and did pretty well, and I look forward to continue to serving the citizens of Oshkosh in the best capacity that I can.
I hope you'll take a moment to plug some of the services that you offer over there. I know I had the chance, along with I think Councilmember Flom, the other night we were there for the recognizing the Friends of the Senior Center. Obviously, you guys had a fantastic weather for Food Truck Friday this last Friday.
Yep.
But some of the other things, who you serve, you're maybe when you're open, as well as,
Yeah.
I know some of the fun things is you guys do a lot of trips. So, here's a chance to plug to, I
Yeah.
think, an audience that might,
For sure.
might be interested.
Yeah, so our fitness facility is open Monday through Friday from 7 to 4. Our non-fitness facility is open from 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. If you are over the age of 50, you are eligible to come and take advantage of the programs and services we have at the center. We do everything from trips, as was just alluded to, everything within the state, the region, internationally. There's a group going to a Brewer game tomorrow. We have groups overseas right now in Europe. One just got back from Mexico. We just did a healthy smoothie class. We just did a how to cook for one or two. We just did and we launched a new pilot evidence-based program this spring on balance and the effect it has on a person's quality of life and quantity of life, which that also affects our friends at the fire department. The more we can work with folks, the less they have to run to calls to pick people up off the floor. And so that's got that benefit that way, to say nothing of the individual that's directly affected. We do programs with any type of craft that you can think of, whether that's stained glass, whether that's resin, whether that's jewelry making, essential oils we had today, and all of the fitness classes, everything from TRX to the Silver Sneakers classes that we have fun with. My staff team and I are over at the Pollock Community Water Park, which is a gorgeous facility, doing water fitness Monday mornings. It's a great thing, so you should sign up and check that out too. We've got pickleball inside the senior center. We've got our regular fitness center, and we have an award-winning wood shop that produces items made of wood that you don't think are made of wood. Like you would expect the fish to swim away or the bird to take a flight. It's just an amazing, very vibrant, passionate group of individuals who want to just have a blast at what they're doing and share those talents with other people. So we at the center as staff are blessed that we get to help those folks do that and helps the city meet those needs of having a good quality of life for our participants.
That was a heck of a plug. Nicely done. Thank you. Again, congratulations on the award, and thank you for what you and the staff over there at the Senior Center do for this community. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Dan, I want to tell you, I literally just had somebody text me who's watching from home, said I can't wait till I turn 55. So I can,
50.
It's 50.
50. So come on, visit us. We can always use one or two more friends. You know, and there's a lot of things that we can do to help folks do things that they don't realize that we do. Check out our newsletter. It's 32 pages of fun, comes out every month. So we'd love to see everybody down there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll have public statements to council. I do have one person registered, Ms. Nancy Decker. If you wouldn't mind, please come on up. Welcome, and just a reminder to keep it to 5 minutes or less. Perfect, sounds great. Welcome.
All right. Good evening, council members. My name is Nancy Decker, and I live at the Havenwood Lake Apartments on Witzel Avenue. I am here on behalf of the neighbors to address a growing safety problem. Our concerns have to do with the traffic risk of exiting our complex's driveway while merging into the speeding traffic on Witzel. This is further complicated by Quick Trip customers also quickly attempting to merge from their driveway adjacent to ours. This is all made even more dangerous by the excessive speed of those trying to get through the stoplight at the intersection of Witzel and Southwest Haven. From our apartment, my husband and I have a clear view of driveways and the intersection. We have seen fender benders, major accidents, people traumatized, and property damage. There are 3 contributing factors to the accidents and driving danger. Number 1, the speed limit. Already a quarter of a mile east of the intersection, it increases to 35 miles per hour. Number 2, driving 10 miles over the posted speed limit seems to be more the norm than the exception. People approaching the intersection in both driveways are probably going 45 or more. Number 3, there's more traffic on Witzel with the addition of the Witt Apartments, the Wildwood condos, and the growing business of Quick Trip. There will be increased traffic with the completion of more apartments west of Havenwood Lake. I contacted the city of Oshkosh and the township of Algoma 3 years ago, noting our concerns and suggesting the speed limit be reduced. I was informed that once speed limits have been set, it's very difficult to get them changed. It was also explained that the method used to determine a set speed is to count driveways. Unfortunately, this data fails to factor in the more dramatic impact of the number of exits made at each driveway. There are about 100 residents coming and going from our apartment complex alone. We compete with hundreds of people entering and exiting Quick Trip, not to mention the amount of traffic coming west on Witzel toward the intersection from the following non-residential locations: Honcamp, the Renaissance Center, and the BioLife Center. These businesses are all located within the posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. It is also significant to note that the speed limits on the streets parallel and perpendicular to Witzel are all lower. Southwest Haven is at 25. 9th Street is 30. Oakwood is 30. So why then is Witzel at 35? I am suggesting to the council the following. Reduce the speed limit from 35 to 25 on Witzel, matching the speed limit on Southwest Haven. B, facilitate increased enforcement of the speed limit. There needs to be an occasional police presence with radar setup catching the faster traffic traveling west on the intersection. C, consider the addition of flashing yellow lights. Please help make our neighborhood safer before someone else is more seriously hurt or worse. Thank you for your time and attention. I have made copies here of a visual representation of the contrasting speed limits in the area, if you'd like to look. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have no one else registered for public statements to council. Yeah, if you could just make sure that Diane gets one too. Please, thank you. We'll move on to consent agenda. I have no one registered to speak on consent. Let me just refresh. Yep, no one registered to speak on consent, so I'll take a motion and a second for consent, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on consent? I do have one. Mr. Robbie, if you wouldn't mind, I had reached out regarding 25-283. This is to amend the CIP and award a bid for contract 25-14 to Vinton Construction for parking lot construction. Couple questions I had for you. My concern on this one was specifically this was a one bid award, that nobody else, just one company bid on it. How unique was this particular bid? And a second question that you can expect is, what would be the likelihood of, if we denied this award and went back out for a rebid, that we could expect to see more activity to bid? And I know the answer if I ask for a lower cost, but one bid awards, especially for nearly $1 million, are a little troubling to me.
Certainly, in the last 5 years with the parking lot related project, 4 of those 5 years have been a single bid on that project. It hasn't mattered what time of year. We've bid them anywhere from April through August. In 4 of the 5 years, the sole bidder was Vinton Materials, or Vinton Construction Company. The 1 year that there was a second bid was Michael's, and Vinton was the low bid in that year. It's just, I think partially because it's a combination of several different types of construction. With an asphalt parking lot, it's not just asphalt. There's utilities, there's concrete curb and gutter, there's a lot of other things that go into it. And that's why we generally don't see a Northeast Asphalt or somebody like that bidding on that project. It's generally only Vinton Construction that's bidding on that project. As we did talk about previously, this one did come in under our engineer's estimate. Certainly anytime we have a sole bidder on a project, we do take a very close look at it to see, all right, is it reasonable or not? You may have dealt with a couple of these with me in the past where my staff and I have felt it wasn't reasonable, and we came to you with a very different resolution in a different part of the agenda asking you to toss it out. In this case, we did feel it was reasonable, a reasonable bid, and the costs were reasonable on this one. I think some of the challenges that make this one a little bit difficult, the parking lots in particular with this one, we're working in the museum, the staff parking lot and the visitor parking lot. There is some timing and some staging challenges to work around one of the big exhibits that they're working on getting in and opened up for this year. So it's working around some of those challenges that do make it a little more difficult. And, that contributes sometimes to why maybe smaller companies don't want to look at it. Vinton is a larger company. They've got project managers with the experience to be able to deal with those sorts of challenges.
I appreciate the additional details on the project, and just, like I said, $1 million nearly, it's a big number to do it with, without some competition, but I've said yes before, and I understand, and I appreciate you standing up there and helping educate us and the public as to some of the complications or some of the complexities of some of these awards. So thank you, James.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Mr. Rupp. If there's any other questions or comments on consent, if not, City Clerk, if you'll take the roll on consent.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
We have a few pending ordinances this evening. This is second reading, so we'll be taking action on these next 5. First up, ordinance 25-295 amends section 27A-11 of the municipal code pertaining to parking regulations on 15th Avenue. Transportation Committee recommends approval. Take a motion in a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? I see none. City Clerk, please take the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 25-296, amend section 27A-11 of the municipal code pertaining to parking and loading zone regulations on New York Avenue. Transportation Committee recommends approval.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Please take the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 25-297, amend section 27A-11 of the municipal code pertaining to parking regulations on 6th Avenue. Transportation Committee recommends approval.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. I see none. Please take the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 25-298, amend parking lot maps and associated regulations within Appendix 27B of the municipal code for the 200 East Lot. Transportation Committee recommends approval.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Please take the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 25-299 amends section 8-1.2, L1 of the City of Oshkosh Municipal Code pertaining to room tax penalties.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. I see none. Please take the roll on 25-299.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
We have 3 new ordinances this evening. No anticipated action on these. These are first readings. They'll come back at the subsequent meeting for additional reading and action. Ordinance 25-300 creates section 17-22.1 and amends section 17-46 and 17-47 of the City of Oshkosh Municipal Code to prohibit unlicensed massage and bodywork therapy. Ordinance 25-301 approves zone change from urban mixed-use district to institutional district at 145 West 24th Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. And ordinance 25-302 approves zone change from single-family residential 9 district to neighborhood mixed-use district for the property located at 1705 Oshkosh Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. Again, those 3 will come back for another reading and further discussion at the next meeting. We have 3 new resolutions. Resolution 25-303, approve reevaluation policy.
So moved. Second.
I imagine there will be some discussion. Councilmember Nichols, you're first, followed by Councilmember Flo.
Thanks. I know that Councilmember Flom and myself, we both asked for this to be reviewed, and council direction was to send this to the Long Range Finance Committee, which I happen to sit on, and we talked about it yesterday. So thanks to Rebecca and Julie and Sarah and the committee to work through what this policy should look like. It was very thoughtful. Went through a couple of iterations, and we thought critically about it. Just to explain what we're doing, I think as everyone knows, certainly on council, but listening, we did a revaluation in 2024 Because of state requirements that I think we all disagree with, but they're still requirements, we have to do a new revaluation in 2025. Part of the background there, though, is we haven't done a revaluation since 2017. Is that right? Yeah. And so that's a long time, which means we saw a really big jump in assessed values as compared to market values. In order to combat that, we are now, in this resolution, asking to revalue our properties every 5 years. Now, there is some flexibility in here to where it doesn't have to be a full revaluation. Staff can make the determination based on market value, how we need to review our assessed value, which gives some leeway. The other thing here is we've said in the policy how we're going to pay for it, which is helpful. So if there's money in our general fund, that's what we will use to pay for it. So it's not as much of a request of council in order to do it, and not that big of a deal, hopefully, assuming that the money is there, as I look to Julie in the back. But we tried to think through everything to kind of take it out of the hands of council to an extent so it doesn't become a political issue. And residents can expect, we will be revaluing our properties every 5 years. It's going to be straightforward. They understand how to appeal it. So that's the goal here. I think it's a really good work product, and I hope that it passes today.
Thank you, Councilmember Nichols. Councilmember Flom.
I want to thank the Long Range Finance Committee, Sarah, Julie, everybody on the committee as well for their work and the thought that they put into this. For me, this is very well balanced. It's the point where we can remove some of the sticker shock from evaluations while also providing a consistent policy. It gives us flexibility and also gives us some clarity on the cost. So I very much appreciate this. I'm happy that it's coming back to vote on today. And I am a yes, and I think we can move forward from here. Thank you.
Any other comments from council? This is one of those things that I'm really glad for our boards and commissions, specifically Long Range Finance. I've served for a number of years on that particular one, so I have a bit of an affinity for the work that particular board has done over the years and some of the policies we've helped create, and will sustain well past when any one of us seven will probably still be on this council. This is a good work product. I appreciate the time and the effort that was put into it, and the thoughtfulness, and the flexibility, because many times policies can be very rigid. So in this case, to be able to still yet be a bit flexible on the how and the when it makes sense is a good outcome. So very supportive of it and very appreciative of the efforts of not only staff but our Long Range Finance Committee, and that's exactly what an update from a council liaison is supposed to look like right there in terms of talking about the work that they're doing and the effort they put in. So appreciate that as well. If nothing else, call the roll on 25-303.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 25-304, approved Class A beer and Class A liquor license. This is for Pioneer Marina, doing business as Spellman's Marina at 1713 West New York Avenue, and Art Dumke's that agent. I'll take a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. I see none. Please take the roll on 25-304.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Final resolution of the evening, Resolution 25-305, approved settlement with Walmart for property tax assessments for tax years 2024 and 2025 for property located at 351 South Washburn Street. This is a refund in the amount of $41,485.28.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Councilmember Larson.
I'll keep this as short as I can. I have lots to say about it. Go figure, right? As a commercial property owner, I really struggle with this. Mainly for me, I'm a no vote on this as it sits. I understand the ins and outs of the legal side. Attorney Lawrenson has been great answering all my questions about it. But I can't, as a constituent, sit up here and advocate for the state to pay their fair share in MSP, and then at the same time say that Walmart shouldn't pay the amount that they've been assessed. I have a really hard time with that. I struggle with that. If Walmart were the only property in this instance saying that to us, or if they weren't the only property saying that to us, I would feel differently about it, but it should be made really clear that they are the only people at this point doing this action to the city. And it's not just Oshkosh where this happens, they do this in lots of cities. And the reason this happens, even though the dark store loophole has been closed by the state, Walmart does this, make no mistake, just because they can. So they take a different process, a different path to get there. They skip board of review, they skip open book, and they get to this point as a lawsuit to try and get assessment dollars back from the general public. So I just struggle with it again. I know the right answer probably is, from a legal perspective, to settle because that's the right answer. You're going to tell me in a second, probably. But I can't in good conscience advocate for this being done one way and then saying that some people get to do it the other way.
Councilmember Nichols.
Thanks. I don't disagree with anything Councilmember Larson said. One thing I'd like to point out is the number on the agenda is $41,000-ish. The real number, the cost to the people of Oshkosh is $17,000.
Yep.
Because we have multiple taxing jurisdictions, and so some of that money will come back. So the number is actually smaller than it is. But like I said, I agree with you. So every day in my professional life as an attorney, I talk about litigation pride, and I hate it's a real thing, where I hate settling cases that I don't think we should settle. But the reality is that $17,000 here is going to be a whole lot cheaper than defending this for 2024 and 2025. The other piece here is that it is both years that we are agreeing to a value. The assessor's office was involved in this process. And so conceivably, we've come up with what is a fair number, and the process may have worked, rather than a judge have to tell us, actually, this is what you're going to do anyway. So I hate it too, but I think that it saves a lot of time for 2 years and a lot of legal fees. So I'm a yes here, even though I want to be a no. I think it just makes sense.
Any other comments, questions?
As usual, DJ said it perfectly.
I'll go one step further. I agree with both of them 100%.
Yeah.
And that's, I think most of council will as well. I've been through a couple of these, and it's not an easy swallow. It is not. And it doesn't feel fair, and it doesn't feel right. But yet, in the end, for the best of the whole, the best of this body and what we do and what we're trying to do, it is a yes for me tonight as well. So, Councilmember Flom.
It's a reluctant yes for me. It's citizens pay their property taxes, businesses pay their property taxes. Like other people have mentioned, these are the only people who are doing it. But a settlement is a settlement, and I'd rather take that and have the agreed upon for the next year instead of going ahead and fighting this out in court for forever, which will cost us more money in the long run. So I'm a reluctant yes on this. I don't like it, but I understand it.
If there's nothing else, please hit the roll on 25305.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
No.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 6-1.
That wraps up the action items for this evening. We'll move on to council discussion, direction to city manager, and future agenda items. First up, we have a discussion and to give direction to city staff regarding the installation of new sidewalk. This is specifically Bay Street from Bayshore Drive to the Fox River. This was a member of the public visited us recently, inquired about the need for this, and we gave some basic direction to city staff to report out to us. Mr. Robbie and his staff did that very well. There was a lengthy memo and email to us with all the pertinent information. I wouldn't have expected anything less. And tonight, we need to know if, city staff needs to know if they are to proceed as previously authorized, because we did, council did authorize the construction to happen back in January, or if not to proceed as is, how they are supposed to proceed from here. So that's the foundation for it. Council questions, council statements. The floor is open for whoever. Mr. Nichols.
Yeah, so this one's close to my heart. It's part of the reason I'm on council to begin with. I was part of a construction project where the city had said they were going to put in sidewalks on both sides of our street per our policy, which has been council's direction in the past when a street is reconstructed. through that process, we had a petition signed by my neighbors, and I met all of them, and they're all great. That's what I'm going to say publicly. And we had to come before council to make the argument of why we didn't think that sidewalks made sense on our street, and they didn't. And council voted 6-1 to not put sidewalks on our street, which was absolutely the right choice. And I was so angry at that one person that's when I decided to run for council to replace them, because I thought it just didn't make sense. I think we really should be asking neighbors. So today on Transportation Committee, I asked Jim Collins what our process is in terms of Transportation Committee weighing in on whether or not sidewalks make sense, and maybe relooking at our policy for automatic streets. I like sidewalks. I think they make a ton of sense. But I do think that in some instances, and I think Bayshore is one of them, sidewalks don't make a ton of sense here. On my street, sidewalks didn't make a ton of sense. And I think that the residents of those neighborhoods really can say if it is. The other thing here that is so important to point out is for new sidewalks, the residents pay for those. And so it's really a tough pill to swallow when the government walks in and says, we're doing this, our policy is to do this. You can go tell council if you don't want to, but it's their decision. And regardless, if they say yes, you're going to be paying for it. So that's what I have a tough time swallowing. That was my first involvement with the city of Oshkosh. Council at that time made the right decision, and I hope the council makes the right decision this time. And I'll be recommending, and I know we're not taking a vote right now, but that we do not require sidewalks in this instance.
Councilmember Floam, followed by Councilmember Larson.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with that. I understand where we try to put sidewalks in on both sides of the road in as many circumstances as possible when it makes sense. But for here, just looking at, the short street, with the dead end, to me, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to put one there. Plus, asking the people who own property that would pay for it on top of that is a bit of a double whammy. So they didn't ask for it. They certainly didn't ask to pay for it. So I understand why council put in that policy. It may make sense to revisit it in the future, but again, this is why things come back to council again. This is why we get to have these discussions. This is why we get to talk amongst ourselves in a public setting about this. So for me, I would support taking it out of the CIP. I don't want to see sidewalks put in on both sides of the street here. I've run by that neighborhood a number of times, by that street specifically. It just doesn't seem like it makes a ton of sense to me. So I don't want to see a sidewalk in there.
Councilmember Larson, followed by Councilmember Bulow.
I'm agreed for all the same reasons for the most part. I'm familiar with the neighborhood. I don't think their sidewalks are needed there. I really appreciate that we have a strategic plan that calls for complete streets whenever we do this, but I also see the value and the importance in asking the people who live there what they want to see there, because that policy can't just apply universally to every single place, every single time. So I'm glad that folks showed up here. I'm glad they gave us a great presentation about what it was, and that we can address it, and that staff will listen to us. So all the way around, I think it's the right decision, and I would love to see no sidewalks there.
Mr. Bulow.
I'm glad that it sounds like I'll be in the majority here that we'll be calling for not adding the sidewalks there or taking them out, I guess it would be. It's also a sidewalk to nowhere in essence on that street, so it doesn't really serve the public good in a lot of ways. Just like everybody else said, I'm glad we have the policy, I'm glad we follow the policy, and I'm glad that we have a mechanism to divert from the policy when it makes sense to do so.
I agree with much of that, probably all of it. Mr. Robbie and I spoke, I know, ahead of time. If you want, you can come on up. It's
a matter of if you want.
No, you're always more than welcome. Council's spoken of it briefly, and we've touched on it in the past, but I think it's worth, we've got a few minutes, it's worth pointing out to the public why it is the way we do this. We do have a complete streets policy. So when we reconstruct, and tell me when I'm wrong if I am wrong on this, that when we reconstruct, we do it completely. It's curbs and gutters, it's sidewalks, aprons, it's ADA accessible ramps, those types of things. And there's good reasons for that. And we've got a policy that says that's what you should engineer when we move forward. I think what you're hearing, and we've heard it in the past a little bit, but what you're possibly hearing right now is it may be time to look at that in terms of, is there a way to build in flexibility for staff for if and when staff even sees an opportunity that says this just doesn't make sense here, that you have that ability to suggest that on the front end. And I don't know if you even want that leeway, but it would be nice for it to there are situations I can assume that over time, maybe Public Works staff wouldn't have recommended it had it not been for that policy, maybe. But it may be time to review that on that front, as well as it was pointed out on the special assessments policy, which was renewed or, updated last year. I'm thankful we did that. There is still this part of, we have developed properties here in our proper that don't have sidewalks. We are requiring residents who drive vehicles of less than 8,000 pounds to pay a fee to cover the cost of reconstruction, and yet there's this carve-out still for some sidewalks and even some aprons that they may have to pay a special assessment charge. So I don't know if it's council being a part of a policy update in the future, if it's giving direction for staff to maybe look at some updates, if it's a small subgroup at some point in the future. But I think you're hearing maybe a little bit of discussion of, it may be time to at least talk about this a little bit. And I don't know about your thoughts on that, if you want to give those, or, I know you're usually one of give direction and you'll execute it to its fullest. And I always appreciate that about you, so I've spoke long enough if you want to go ahead.
Certainly that is what I'm here for, to take the direction you give me and charge forth. In most cases, I think you're going to find, staff would likely recommend sidewalks. In most cases, certainly Mr. Nichols in your neighborhood, staff felt differently than the neighborhood did. We did feel it was necessary there. In this case, the only access is to the river at the end of the street. And, certainly the Department of Natural Resources does have a lot of concerns over making sure that the public has access to waterways. As I've talked with some of you, and it's been talked about at other meetings, one street over, there's a boat launch dock. One more street over, there's a fishing pier. So is it as big of a concern for Bay Street in this case? No, likely not. That being said, there are some encroachments in that right-of-way that do need to be addressed. As you talked about at one of the previous meetings, they were brought up. Those will need to be addressed from a statutory standpoint. We have done it in other locations with encroachment agreements. So those are some things that will still need to be addressed irregardless of the sidewalk issue.
Okay. Councilmember Stevenson, Deputy Mayor Stevenson.
Yeah, I'm a big complete streets advocate, so I thank staff for bringing that forward and advocating for sidewalks. I think I looked at this one like 1,000 different ways, trying to convince myself that there should be a sidewalk here, because I feel so strongly that we should have sidewalks everywhere, but ultimately I do agree with fellow council members, that at least on the one side of the street, we should probably get rid of that. If there was a pier or some other water access, I would be a little bit more inclined to say we need a sidewalk there. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I kind of look at this and I wonder if we could just vacate the street altogether, because we're kind of repairing a nub of a street that doesn't lead to many places. It leads to a handful of places. But so yeah, I don't think our policy is bad. Complete streets is a good thing to have. But having this process where citizens can come forward and say there's maybe a little wonkiness going on and maybe give an exception here, I'm all in favor of. If we do end up looking into policy changes or anything of that nature, roads are a big deal to neighbors, as you know, James. I would try to maybe even expand that scope beyond just sidewalks and go to street form in general. I know it's one of the most frequent things, I think all of us here, is my road just got reconstructed and now it's different. And not that different is bad, but being able to make sure citizens have a healthy involvement in that process, I would advocate for. So thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Nichols.
I guess just to that end of revisiting a policy, I know we just did this with the reevaluation policy. We sent it to a committee to have the conversation. Having the conversation about roads, I think is a really big, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a really big conversation because I don't know what's under my street at all. And I know a lot of times the reason we redo the road is because we're replacing what is under it. And so I'm not gonna pretend to be an expert on that or have a great opinion, honestly. And I know James really appreciates me saying that. But in terms of sidewalks, I do think that it can be a neighbor's purview of what is it in front of my house? I'm going to use it probably more than anybody else. Now, on main thoroughfares, that's not necessarily true. So if we were going to revisit a policy, I've already mentioned it to Director Collins about what is our process for getting public input about this on sidewalks. It sounds like there is a policy in place. Are you aware of that, Director Robbie, of how do people give input about what's going on in front of the house?
When there's something like this, when we brought this before you in January, the Transportation Committee had given a recommendation to council, and certainly as a part of that going before the Transportation Committee, that is one of the notices that gets sent to the adjacent property owners, just like the significant number of letters that we send from our office as well. So, there's a lot of different correspondence that way, but, when it's seeking that input before the Transportation Committee, that is a notice that Transportation Department sends out in advance of that committee meeting.
And that's what he mentioned too, and I asked him if we could take a look at what that notice says and how it's designed. On Plan Commission, I know that we had a very specific form, and people were very aware when I served on that committee. Looking at Mr. Marks' face, it doesn't seem like he may have gotten that notice. I know I certainly didn't get it for the sidewalks in front of my house. It was a little bit different then because we had different committee structure. So I think where I'm going with this is I think reviewing that process with the Transportation Committee and maybe identifying if the policy is a good one and how to seek additional public input is never a bad thing. And understanding also that the Transportation Committee is one that it makes recommendations. It doesn't serve a statutory purpose, is my point here, unlike Plan Commission. So I'd love to take that back to Transportation Committee, but I defer to everyone else on who that goes to.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yeah, maybe I'm getting outside the purview of this topic, but just to elaborate a little bit on it, I think communication is key, and being able to succinctly tell, like a constituent, your road is getting wider, or you're losing parking. I know one of the first things that when I was on council, a gentleman asked, I think it was on Wisconsin Street, to come talk about the parking that was on his, the situation that had changed. And that situation has occurred a handful of times where people have asked about this. And I think we've all talked about communication. You guys are doing a lot better in that regard, but something that simply says in a letter like, hey, your street is changing. This is the process that you would be able to talk to council or talk to you about, I think is what we're all maybe trying to get at. And no, I don't want people to talk about what's under their road, because I don't want you to have an engineer degree to talk about these things, but more form is what I'm getting at, the lengths and widths of cement, essentially, so.
Okay. So two parts. One, I think you've heard maybe a little bit about potential policy updates and maybe a path that looks different in the future. I don't think we need to go too far on that one. In terms of giving direction, I'll move to remove sidewalks from Bay Street. I don't remember do I need to?
I think, what we're looking at here is, because there's been an action taken already, I think we're looking for direction I think procedurally, we have to figure out, okay, how do we bring you something that changes that direction you've already given us? So I think, we're needing that direction to say, yes, we want you to do that, so that as staff, I think then we got to figure out what the proper procedure is to do that.
Let me do that. Council, are you interested in having staff review how to bring this back procedurally so that we can remove these sidewalks from this particular construction project? Mr. Stevenson? I need you to say yes or no on this one.
If I may ask for a bit of clarification, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
The project or Bay Street? Because the project is more than Bay Street.
From Bay Street, on Bay Street, from Bay Shore Drive to Fox River.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we were clear.
Thank you for the clarification as well. And this is one of those ones where council has told me I need to call people's names and get yes or no's, that they don't like it when people nod their heads.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Fulham?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll be a yes as well. So if staff can figure out how to bring this back procedurally at a subsequent meeting.
Yeah, we'll get together and talk about it. I had a brief conversation with Mr. Praska before the meeting, but yeah, it was real brief and kind of caught him real quick. So we're not 100% sure what it's going to be, but we'll get it figured out and brought back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Future agenda items, meetings, workshops. We have a TIF request workshop from Ticor, June 24th. That'll be at 5 p.m. So that's the next meeting. We'll have a workshop ahead of time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, go right ahead.
the topic likely will change because we have not received the information from Ticor, but we'll have something else to talk about.
You're going to have us in a workshop setting no matter
Yes.
what? Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then we have Additionally, this is to be determined, we have a closed session that may be in the works regarding 7th Avenue and some of the discussions that have been happening with council regarding the 7th Avenue construction projects over there. And again, that'll be at a date to be determined when staff is ready to have that discussion. Any council member announcements or statements? Mr. Larson?
Sure, from partly my role on your CVB as whatever I am, liaison, and Discover Oshkosh in general. If you didn't get the email yet today, I'll just read some of this to you. Big news for Oshkosh and Winnebago County. 2024 was another record-breaking year for tourism. We generated $574 million in total economic impact last year, a 4.1% increase, and supported nearly 4,400 local jobs. It's the third consecutive year that we've broken records in tourism in this region.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
And we're not Wisconsin's event city anymore?
Nope.
Mr. Nichols?
Thank you. It is June 10th, which means we're 10 days into Pride Month, and so I want to say Happy Pride Month to everybody, like I wrote in the Northwestern last week. That means that we're acknowledging the progress we've made, but also acknowledging the progress that's yet to come. So Happy Pride Month, everybody. And also I'll say in 9 days, it's Juneteenth, so we want to say Happy Juneteenth too. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other council members? If not, we'll move to city manager announcements and statements. I think you just have outstanding issues on there. It might be the thinnest city manager announcements I've seen in quite some time.
Well, I do have something that's not on there.
All right.
About the 4th of July fireworks, just wanted to remind people that festival fireworks will be held at Ames Point on the far north of Menominee Park this year, which is a different location than previous years. And we encourage people to attend those rather than shooting off illegal fireworks and getting fines, which could go up to $1,300.
It's a good plug for that as well. I assume we'll have that on the agenda for another reminder
Yes.
at our next June meeting. Excellent. Anything else from the city manager?
No.
All right, and there's a good graphic up on TV showing where we're blowing them off this year, so nice. All right, Deputy Mayor has a motion for us, I believe.
I so move to convene in a closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, 1C of the Wisconsin State Statutes to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
And this is for the
City manager.
mid-year review of the city manager, yep. We have a motion, take a second.
Second.
If you'll take the roll, any discussion on the motion to go into closed session? If you'll take the roll on going into closed session.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
I'll take a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.